Hello students, welcome to the first lecture on the lecture series on compound interest. Okay, so in this lecture what we'll be doing is we'll be covering some basic concepts and some types of problems that are usually being involved in various competitive exams. So we'll be covering the basic concepts first and then we'll go forward to see the types of problems that are usually being asked. So let's start this lecture. So we'll be covering concept and types of problems on compound interest. So let's see what compound interest is and how it is actually different from simple interest that we have already studied. So compound interest is this interest on a sum of money that is calculated not only on the initial amount. So interest is calculated after each term, okay, term or interval, because in simple interest you knew that the interest was calculated once, but that was only calculated on the initial amount, okay, and on the final amount till date. Okay, so compound interest allows for the accumulation of interest over time. Okay, so in compound interest the interest for each period is added to the principal, resulting in a compounding effect. So let's see, let's say you have what, 10 biscuits. Okay, so you had 10 biscuits. Okay, and in two cases, one is simple interest case and one is compound interest case. Okay, so you have 10 biscuits and you have 10 biscuits here. So after 1 year these 10 biscuits become what, 11 biscuits. Okay, because you have simple interest of 10% and here you also have compound interest of 10%, so it will also become 11. Okay, so what happens is you get 10% of extra amount, okay, after 1 year. So 10% of 10 is equal to what, 1. So added it to, so we are left with 11. So but the thing that makes compound interest different from simple interest comes from second year. Okay, when after 1 year is got over and second year is over, when you are going to enter into the third year, what will happen is, so after first year this will happen, so after second year the interest will be 10% on 11. Okay, but in this case it will become 12. How? Because the interest will be added from this one. Okay, so this will make the interest, but here the interest will come from here. Okay, so for 11, so it will be what, 12.1. This much amount of biscuit you will have, but in this case you will have 12. Okay, but you can see clearly that 12.1 is greater than 12 because this amount is taken into consideration in case of compound interest. In simple interest only the initial amount was considered. In compound interest initial amount is not considered unless it is the first year. Okay, so after first year or the first interval, what happens is the final amount is always considered as the initial amount. Okay, so let's see the definition of compound interest. So compound interest is a financial concept where the interest is calculated on both the initial principal amount and the accumulated interest from the previous periods. Okay, so it involves adding the interest to the principal amount and then resulting in the compounding effect. Okay, so its effect is called the compounding effect. So compound interest is widely used in finance and economics. So we combine two or more different types of quantities. Okay, when you get a loan from bank, you actually get it on compound interest. Okay, because the loan amount and its interest gets compounded and the compounding effect takes into the picture. So let's see some formulas that are actually important in terms of the concept compound interest. Okay, so formula for compound interest, CI, amount A after compound interest. Okay, amount is denoted as A, CI is denoted as compound interest. So amount after n years is written as AN. So finding principal amount, so it will be what, P. So compound interest, when interest is compounded annually, n is equal to 1. Okay, these cases we will see. So the formula for compound interest CI will be what, CI is equal to P into 1 plus R by N whole power N into T minus 1. Okay, so this is the formula that we have right now. Okay, so we have something like this. Okay, so let's see, where CI is equal to what, compound interest, P is equal to what, principal amount, R is equal to annual interest rate expressed as decimal. Okay, so if it is not expressed as decimal, so what will happen, so CI will become what, P into 1 plus R by N into 100. Okay, So this much power n into t minus 1. So this would have been the formula if r is given as what? Percentage only. Percentage, not decimal. Okay. But if it is given in decimal, then this one will be the correct one. So T is the time duration in years, and N is the number of compounding periods per year. Okay. In general, it is taken as 1 because we try to evaluate it after years, but sometimes it is semi-annually and sometimes it's quarterly. So what is quarter? So quarterly will be in every 3 months. Okay. And semi-annually will be in every 6 months. So let's see the second kind of formula, that is amount A after compound interest. So A will be equal to what? T into 1 plus r by n whole power n into t. So this will be the amount. So where A is equal to what? Total amount, that is principal plus compound interest. Okay. So let's see the third kind of formula, that is the amount after n years. An is equal to what? So An is equal to P into 1 plus r by n whole power n into n. So t becomes n, right? So it becomes n square, right? So this will be P into 1 plus r by n whole power n square. Okay. So if it is what? Compounded annually, then it will become 1 plus r. Okay. So this much power what? N. This much. So where n is equal to total amount after n years. Okay. So finding principal amount. So principal amount, how it can be found out? So P is equal to A by 1 plus r by n into whole power n into t. So here P is equal to principal amount. Initial investment of loan will be P. So let's see the fifth kind of formula, that is compound interest when interest is compounded annually. Okay, n is equal to 1 is given. Ci is equal to P into 1 plus r whole power t minus P. Okay, P is what? P is the principal amount. Okay, so Ci will be the compound interest. So here I think there is slight typo here, so it should be minus P, right? So R is equal to what? Annual interest rate expressed as what? Decimal. So T is equal to time duration in years, right? So let's see the type of questions. Okay. So in this topic, usually there are 9 kind of questions on which there comes the question in different exams, competitive exams. So let's see the first kind of question, that is simple compound interest calculation. Okay. So the second kind will be finding the total amount. How we can find out the total amount using that formula, or there any other concept that we need to evaluate so that we could find the total amount. So finding principal or rate. Okay, that is rate of what? Interest or principal amount. So difference in compound interest or annual installments. Okay, so let's say you are given two compound interest. Okay, one is X% and one is Y% on the same amount. So same initial amount, then it may ask you to find out their difference after X year, Y year. Okay, so annual installments, calculate annual installments, and mixed interest problems. Okay, effective rate of interest, time period calculation, interest on a loan. Let's see the first kind of question. So simple compound interest calculation. So questions where the candidates are required to find a compound interest on a given principal amount, interest rate, and time period. So find the amount if 10,000 is invested at 10% per annum for 2 years when compounded annually. So we know that A is equal to what? P into 1 plus R by 100 whole power n. So from given data, P is equal to what? 10,000. So R will be 10%, N will be 2 years. Substituting the input values, we have the equation as under what? A is equal to 10,000 into 1 plus 10 by 100 whole power 2. So it will be 10,000 into 1 plus 0.1 power 2. So it will be what? 10,000 into 1.1 power 2. So 10,000 into 1.21. So R is 12,100. So finding the total amount. So questions where candidates needs to calculate the total amount, that is principal plus compound interest after a specific time period. So given the principal, that is 40,000, rate of interest is equal to what? 8% per annum compounded annually. So find interest if period is 1 year. Principal for second year is equal to what? And interest for second year will be what? Amount if period is 2 year. Okay. So we want to calculate all these questions. What will be this? What will be this? What will be this? And what will be this? So given that what principal amount is this, that is 40,000, interest is this much. So compound, so CI formula is equal to what, 1 plus R whole power T, right? Because it is compounded annually, so R by N, so N is equal to 1 here, T into N is equal to 1 here, so it will be 1 plus R whole power T. Okay, so we are given that this much into P, right? So principal amount is what, so 40,000, right? So this much amount what, so 1 plus R, so it will be 1.08 whole power. Okay, so interest period is 1 year. So if interest period is 1 year, it will be 1. If it is 2 year, okay, so principal for the second year. So principal for the second year will be what? This will be the principal for second year. Okay, so interest for second year will be what? Interest for second year will be the same. Okay, not same. It will be what? So it will be 40. It will be actually 40,000 into 1.08 whole square minus 1. Okay, this much will be the interest for second year. Okay, so amount if period is 2 year, so amount will be what? So amount will be A2 is equal to 40,000 into 1.08 whole square. This much will be the amount for second year after 2 years. So given that, let's see the step by step solution. The principal is what, 40,000. Rate of interest is equal to 8% per annum. So rate of interest is this. So and the applicable compound interest formula will be what? A is equal to P into 1 plus R by 100 whole power N. Okay. So N is equal to number of years, A is equal to amount, interest for first year. So it will be what? 40,000 into 1 plus 8 by 100. So it will be 1.0 into 40,000, right? So it will be 43,200. So interest if time period is 1 year, so 43,200 minus 40,000 got 3,200. So principal for second year will be what? 43,200. That is the amount in after first year. So interest for the second year will be this much minus 1. Okay, so this will become the interest for second year. Okay, or yeah, or we can put actually P is equal to this much and evaluate it. We can also do that. Okay, so here it is done by P taking a this one. Okay, we didn't do this, but we took P as this one. Okay, so what happens is interest is equal to 3,456. So amount after 2 years is 46656 rupees. So let's see the third kind of question, that is finding principal or rate. So questions where one of the variables is unknown and candidates needs to find based on the given compound interest and other known values. So deposit an amount of what, 10,000 in a bank account, and after 3 years the amount grows to what, 12,000, right? So calculate the rate you want to compound the interest. So to calculate the rate of compound interest, we can use the formula of compound interest, that is A is equal to P into 1 plus R by N, where N is the number of times the interest takes place or the compounding effect takes place, whole power N into T. A is the final amount, so 12,000 in this case. P is equal to principal amount 10,000, so R is the annual interest rate. N is the number of times the interest is compounded per year, typically the compound annually, so it is N is equal to 1. So T is the number of years, right? 3 years in this case. So R is equal to what? N into A by P whole power 1 by NT minus 1. So solving it further algebraically, what we are left with is R is equal to 1.12 square root minus 1. So calculate the square root. So calculating the square root, it becomes something like this. Okay. So R is equal to this minus this, 1.0577 minus 1, it is equal to 0.0577. So to convert this into an integer interest rate, you can multiply it by 100. So by multiplying it by 100, we are left with this one, that is 5.77%. Okay. So among all the options, only this one will be the correct one. So let's see actually the fourth kind of question, that is difference in compound interest. So questions comparing the compound interest earned for different time periods or interest rate. Okay, suppose we have what, 10,000 rupees in two different bank accounts, A and B. So we have two bank accounts, so both with annual interest rate of 5%. However, account A compounds interest annually and B compounds the interest semi-annually. So calculate the difference in compound interest earned in after both accounts after 2 years. Okay, so what we can do is we can A2 and B2, let's say. So this will be what? So this will be 10,000 into 1 plus. So for both it is 5, right? So it will be 5 by 100 into what 1 whole power 2 and B2 will be 10,000 into 1 plus 5 by 200 whole power 2. So this is equal to, so difference between A2 is A2 minus B2. So A2 minus B2. Let's try to calculate. So it will be what? 10,000 whole into, what will happen here is, so 1.05 whole square minus, okay, it will be what? So it will be 1 plus 5 by 200. So it will be 1 by what? So it will be 1 by 40 whole square. So evaluating this, we can calculate the difference in compound interest earned in both the accounts after 2 years. So you must be wondering, but I have negated only the full amounts. So since both the amount have what? 10,000 as common, so it won't matter actually. Okay, so it will also get cancelled out if we solve further. So account A is equal to what? Principal amount will be this much. So after this, what we can evaluate is AA. That will be what? 11,025 rupees. Okay, for account B, it will be this, but it is compounded semi-annually. So n is equal to 2. So the formula will something like this. This much by 4, power 4. So 11,038.36. Okay, so CI will be this much minus this, so it will be 13.36. So after all this calculation, what you can guarantee is the difference in what? Compound interest will be 13.36. So the difference in compound interest between the two accounts after 2 years is approximately 13.36 with account B. Okay, earning slightly more interest than account A. Okay, that is being actually compounded annually. So let's see the fifth kind of question, that is annual installments. Okay, so questions involving compound interest in cases of yearly deposits or withdrawals at a regular interval. So find the compound interest CI on 12,600. Okay, so this is the initial amount or principal amount for 2 years at a 10% per annum compound interest. Okay, so CI amount will be equal to what? So amount is equal to P into what? 1 plus R power T, right? R is in decimal form, so it will be what? 12,600 into 1 plus, so 10% will be 0.1, right? This much power 2 for 2 years since T is equal to 2. Okay, so this will be equal to 12,600 into 1.01 whole power 2, right? So principal amount is equal to 12,600, rate of interest equal to 10%, time period equal to 2 years. So to determine the amount A with compound interest, we use the formula what? Principal into 1 plus rate by 100 whole power time. So plugging in the given details, we are left with A is equal to 12,600 into 1 plus 10% whole power 2. So 12,600 into 1.01 whole power 2. So 12,600 into 1.21. So that is equal to 15,246. Now to determine the compound interest CI. So total amount minus principal is equal to 15,246 minus 12,600. That is equal to 2,646. So thus the compound interest for the given details is what? 2,646 rupees. Let's see the type of questions, that is the sixth kind, that is on mixed interest. So questions combining compound interest with simple interest for different time periods or rates. So a sum of 4,000 is borrowed and the rate is 7%. So what is the simple and compound interest for 2 years? Okay, that is what we want to know. So to calculate simple interest, we use the formula for simple interest equal to principal into rate into time by 100. So it will be equal to what? PRT by 100. But observe here, R is actually in percentage. Okay, if it is written in decimal, there won't be a 100 in the what? Denominator. So given that principal is this, rate is equal to this, that is equal to 0.07, right? And T is equal to 2 years. So 4,000 into 7 into 2 by 100 is equal to what? Simple interest. So this will give the simple interest as 560 rupees. So the total simple interest over 2 years amounts to what? 560 rupees for the compound interest. Okay, so for the formula for compound interest is equal to principal into 1 plus rate whole power T minus principal. So the principal is written, should be written here. Okay, so it will be T minus principal. Okay, so applying the given values, so compound interest is equal to what? 4,000 into 1 plus 7 by 100 whole power 2 minus 4,000. So this leads to what? Compound interest that is 4000 into 1.1449 minus 4000. So resulting in what? Compound interest is equal to 580 approximately. So therefore the compound interest for the span of 2 years is what? 580 rupees. So let's see the seventh kind of question, that is effective rate of interest. So questions on the equivalent rate of interest when compound interest is done more frequently, like quarterly or semi-annually. So simple interest on a given amount is always less than the compound interest on the same amount for the same time period and at the same rate of interest per annum. So let's see whether these statements are true or false. Actually false. So for 1 year, the simple interest and compound interest for the same amount on the same interest rate are equal actually. Okay, because SI is equal to what? P R T by 100, right? And CI is equal to what? P whole into 1 plus R by 100. So it is R by 100 whole power T minus 1, right? This is what we have. So this will be equal to what? So for 1 year, T is equal to 1. So it is P R by 100, right? So and Ci is equal to what? This is what here. So Ci will be P into 1 plus R by 100 whole power 1, right? So this much minus 1. So this will be equal to what? P. Okay. So this is what we are written right here. So P minus P is equal to what? It gets cancelled out. So P R by 100 is remaining right here. So as you can see, SI and CI are same if T is equal to 1 year. So but for 2 years, the simple interest is always less than the compound interest for the same amount on the same rate of interest. Okay. Well, let's see the 8th kind of question, that is interest rate on a loan. So questions where candidates have to calculate the total amount to be repaid for a loan with compound interest. So where you take the compounding effect into C. Let's see the problem. That is Asima took what? She took 1 lakh at 12% annum compounded and half yearly. So she paid 1,12,360 if 1.06, okay, power 2 is equal to this much. Then the period for which she took the loan is what? 2 year, 1 year, 6 months or 1.12 year. So let's see which of these 4 is actually correct. So given that principal amount is 1 lakh, so interest rate is this much. So we can calculate the what? Compound interest. So using this formula, that is amount is equal to principal into this much into this. Okay. So using the given information, we are left with what? So M is equal to 2 in this. M is unknown here, right? So we have taken the time period will be M. So from which we can get what? This by this is equal to 53 by 50 power 2 into M. So it will be 53 by 50 power 2 into M. So M must be equal to what? M must be equal to 1. So the time period is actually 1 year. Okay. So let's see the 9th kind of question, that is time period calculation. So questions requiring candidates to find the time period when principal rate and compound interest are given. So you have invested 100 rupees savings account that offers a 10% annual interest rate compounded yearly. Okay, here compounding is done yearly. So how many years it will take for you to for your investment to be double, that is 200 rupees. So compound interest formula is this. Okay, given that A is equal to 2x and P is equal to what? X. So this is equal to 1 plus R is what? Known here and N is unknown here. So this implies that X is cancelled out. So 1 is equal to 1 plus 0.1 whole power N. So this implies that, so it will be what? So 1 is equal to 1 plus 0.1. So that is 1.1 power N. Okay. So then N is equal to what? So if this much is given to you, then N will be what? So since 2 is equal to this much, since 2 is there, 2 is actually there, right? After cancelling this. So the answer will be, so log 2 is equal to what? Log 1.1 power N. So it will be equal to N log 1.1. So now using the logarithmic table, what we can evaluate? N is equal to log 2 by log 1.1. So solving this we can evaluate. So N is equal to what? Log 2 by log 1.1. So it is what? So it is nearly equal to 7.27. Okay. So the time period it will take for the money to be doubled is 7.27 years. Okay. So it is 7.27. So by completing this, we have discussed all the type of questions that are usually being asked on the exam. Okay. So we saw what? We saw 9 kind of questions. That is simple and compound interest calculation, finding the total amount, finding principal or rate, difference in compound interest, annual installments, mixed interest, effective rate of interest, time period calculation, and interest on loan. And what we will do next is we'll actually do some exercise problems, okay, so that you could get a better grip at these kind of questions, okay, and concepts, okay. And practice makes a man perfect, so we need to practice more and more questions. So we'll be doing 2 exercise sessions. Following that, we'll be doing some previous year questions, so that you could benchmark yourself against the exam questions, so that you can never get nervous and you are always ahead in the game, okay. So I think that's enough for today, and let's stop this lecture. Thank you.